So, hello everyone. We may start the conference. Stefan, would you like to lead?
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon in your area. We are from the West Visayas State University from the Philippines, and I would like to acknowledge the San Jose State University for this as the founding partner for this Library 2.0. So the topic of our research is on gardening as a coping mechanism by Filipino librarians and library staff during the COVID-19 pandemic, and our physical, mental, and emotional health status, anxiety, and ways of coping. My two undergraduate students will present the results of our study. Thank you.
Someone cannot hear you, I think. Would you like to unmute yourself? Stefan, you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, great. Thank you.
Can you unmute? June, unmute na. Unmute na, June. Okay, let me start.
Okay, hello everyone. Allow me to start with the introduction. So the Philippines has been greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, with the government implementing strict measures to curb the spread of the virus. Libraries and schools in the Philippines were forced to close their doors.
So the COVID-19 pandemic resulted to some anxiety and stressors. Most study focused on the role of libraries and librarians during the pandemic, preparedness and responses, impact on services, provision of online resources and services, information dissemination, health information, infodemic, fake news, and limited or no report in the health status of librarians and their ways of coping, particularly in the Philippines. And moreover, due to COVID-19 lockdowns, home gardening blooms. The pandemic has created plant enthusiasts. Does it include librarians, and do they consider gardening as a way of coping?
Okay, next is our methodology. So our study aims to determine the physical, mental, and emotional health status of the librarians and library staff in the Philippines during the COVID-19 pandemic, their ways of coping, if gardening was used as a coping mechanism, the perceived benefits of plants at gardening, the kinds of plants bought, bartered, planted, and grown, the average amount of time and money they have spent on plants, and lastly, the kind of plants bought, bartered, planted, and grown.
So for the methodology, from November 2022 to December 2022, researchers conducted an online survey. 15 are library staff and 269 are librarians. The physical, mental, and emotional health state questions were taken from Corley et al., and it was modified. In this study, the revised ways of coping, we used the community sample scales, and it was utilized. The researchers used the transactional stress theory by Folkman.
So we also use a group of plants based on Manuela et al. And the rest of our questionnaires are already self-made.
So the respondents comprised librarians and library staff working in the Philippines, and the majority of the respondents were female, married, and living in the urban area, and regular or permanent employees and working in academic libraries.
Okay, for our results, so figure 1, physical health of the respondents was very good. This shows that the respondents have a good stance on their day-to-day life, as well as a good status with respect to their physical health, which allows them to function well in their daily tasks.
So in figure 2, apparently, the majority of respondents also assessed their mental and emotional health as very good to excellent. Only a few rated their mental and emotional health status as poor.
Okay, and figure 3, majority of Filipino librarians and library staff experience anxiety most of the time to all of the time in 2020 and gradually decreases some of the time to never in 2021 to 2022. There are still remaining 6.7% who experience it in the year 2022.
In figure 4, it shows that the top 7 ways of coping of Filipino librarians and library staff during the COVID-19 pandemic, they use quite a bit to use a great deal. It is interesting to note that the most used coping strategies were all positive. Praying was the top most used coping strategy, followed by rediscovering what matters most in life and trying to see the silver lining, doing something creative, and trying to change or grow as a person in a good way, wishing that things will get better, and lastly, talking to someone.
Okay, so figure 5, gardening is a coping mechanism. During the years 2020 and 2021, almost half of the respondents used gardening a great deal as their coping mechanism. There was a decrease on use of gardening in the year 2022.
So if the respondents consider themselves as Plantito or Plantita, Plantito or Plantita is a jargon, a combination of the word plant and Filipino word tito, which means uncle, or tita means aunt. It is an invented term we use in the Philippines to refer to a person who takes care of plants, usually of adult age. Just more than a half of the respondents consider themselves as a Plantito or Plantita.
Okay, figure 7 shows that total time spent per week in gardening. So the majority of our respondents only spent an hour or less each or to a day in gardening, but there are more or less 20% who never engage in gardening.
Next, for figure 8, most of the respondents did not spend on plants in the last 3 years. There are a few notable respondents who spends more than 40,000 or 736 US dollars a year on plants.
So in figure 9, majority of the respondents, 66.9% plans to put plants inside the library.
Next, in figure 10, it shows that the majority of the respondents acquired plants through gifts from family or friends, followed by propagating or growing their own plants, and only a quarter were bought through live selling.
So figure 11 shows the top perceived benefits of plants. First is viewing a green space through a window helps relax and reduce stress levels. Second, flowers and plants generate happiness. Third, viewing plants reduces stress, fear, anger, sadness, and so on.
These are so figure 14. So for the awareness of plants propagating molds inside the library, we asked the respondents if they are aware that plants can propagate molds. So the figure shows that the majority of the librarians are strongly not aware that plants can propagate molds inside the library.
Okay, here in figure 12, this shows the top 6 most bought, bartered, and planted by the respondents. So we have here first is photos. It has 61.3%. Second is aglonema, 59.2%, caladium, 50%, and syngonium, 41.2%, spathiphyllum, 40.1%, and lastly, snake plant, which has 37.7%.
Conclusion. Okay. So the research results indicate that the mental health of librarians during the pandemic was generally stable. Despite the challenges presented by the pandemic, most librarians were able to cope with stress and uncertainty of the situation. Additionally, the study found a small number of librarians utilized gardening as a coping strategy during the pandemic. This highlights the importance of finding effective coping mechanisms to manage stress during the times of crisis.
Okay, next is our recommendation. So this study was crucial in gaining a better understanding of the impact that gardening has had on the well-being and mental health of these librarian and library staff members, and was used to further explore the potential benefits that gardening may have for individuals in similar positions. So the study highlighted the diverse spending patterns among librarians and library staff and provide valuable insight into their financial priorities. So it is essential to note that while some librarians and library staff prioritize spending on gardening, others do not allocate any resources towards this activity, which is a reflection of their unique needs, preferences, and circumstances. It is also crucial to understand that while some librarians and library staff may enjoy gardening and spend a considerable amount of time engaged in this activity, others may not find it relevant to their lifestyles.
So the recommendation of the study, there should be a well-being support system to librarians and library staff, especially those with high level of anxiety and poor health status. And there also should be programs in libraries focusing on top 7 ways of coping, which was mentioned earlier. Libraries should consider initiating gardening workshops. The library should reconsider in their decision putting plants inside the library, and further analysis for correlation studies should be pursued. And we can conclude that the pandemic had brought about stress, worries, and other pandemic-related stressors. However, the research also points to the potential effectiveness of various interventions to mitigate the impact of the pandemic on mental health. Those interventions included gardening, which showed significant benefits to health.
So that's all.
That's all for our presentation. And we would like to welcome your comments and suggestions for the improvement of our paper. Thank you.
Thank you for this wonderful presentation. Does anyone have questions?
Okay, let me go back to the request of one of the for the perceived benefits.
Sure, thank you.
So these perceived benefits were just collated from various published literature on the benefits of gardening and on the benefits of plants. This question is from Julian.
For Julian, yes. There's another question about, did you provide gardening classes during the pandemic? This is from Sasha.
For this study, we just surveyed the Filipino librarians, and these students. This is an undergraduate thesis, and so it's not an initiative of the library, and we're not connected with the library. So we cannot. We didn't have an initiative to come up with a library workshop for librarians. So.
Thank you. There's another message coming from Julianne saying thank you, and that they are bringing more plants into their library.
Yeah. Our concern with planting with bringing plants inside the library is that there's an existing IFLA guidelines that states that plants may bring also molds and insects inside the library. So there should be some sort of mechanism to bring in live plants inside the library.
That's right. There are multiple variables that we should take into consideration. Thank you very much. Any more questions? Well, we have another 3 minutes to end our conference, but if you have any other questions, you can ask and we can answer. So someone says probably just adding more plants in offices or break rooms.
Yeah, but not in the shelves.
That's correct. Okay, well, thank you very much again, Stefan, and thank you very much to all our presenters.
Thank you.
And thank you very much to everyone for coming and joining us. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.